All right, let's continue our talk about Stoicism. We're going through the Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, and we had ended up in Book 7, and I enjoyed section 5. Is my mind sufficient for this task, or is it not? If it is, I use it for the task as an instrument given me by the nature of the whole. If it is not, I either cede the work, if it is otherwise my responsibility, to someone better able to accomplish it, or do as best as I can, calling in aid someone who, in cooperation with my own directing mind, can achieve what is at this particular time the need and benefit of the community. Whatever I do, either by myself or with another, should have this sole focus, the common benefit and harmony. So very interesting. So there's a little bit of it's a little confusing. So this translation says whole, right? What was it again? An instrument given me by the nature of the whole. Yeah. Remember that for Stoics, the universe is a sort of organized, rational system being. So I read this section and I was reminded of, I forget which movie it is, but I want to say it's one of the Dirty Harry movies. Clint Eastwood's character says, "A man's got to know his limitations." And I've always found that a very good quote. Clearly that's a very sort of 80s action movie one-liner. But it's a very important way to look at yourself, I think. Because very often we are not aware of our shortcomings and our limitations. And the reality is that everybody has shortcomings and limitations. It's normal. It's natural. It's the way every single being works. Because there always are things you are good at, and there are things you are not so good at. And that is fine. It's perfectly fine to have certain things you are not good at. But very often, we are now, I find, minimizing that awareness in people. So we often give people the impression that they can do everything they want. But that's not necessarily true. I think you should absolutely strive to do whatever it is you want and do the best job you can at obtaining whatever it is you want. But you do have to realize that you have certain limitations. And those limitations may get in the way of certain things. For example, when I was working on my bachelor's degree, I always did very well. And I always had very good test scores. I just did well. I was a good student. But you have to understand that where I studied, University of Amsterdam, there were 600 first-year students, and I was one of those 600. And about 40% makes it through the first year without any issues and goes on to the second year. But I always did well. I scored well on all my tests. Then I got into a 2-year master's program, which was a competitive master's program, so you had to have certain grades and you had to have letters of recommendation from professors, etc. And now, all of a sudden, all the students in that program were also that good. So now these were all what you'd call in North America straight A students. So I was still good, but I didn't automatically stand out anymore. But I was still good. Now, why am I telling you this? Because this is not some sort of arrogant story. Here's the issue. Then I moved on to work on my PhD. And I walked into a whole new university, different department, right? With the idea of, I'm going to show everyone all these skills I have. I'm going to do a fantastic job at this. I'm going to be really great because I was among the best first, and then I was among the still, because I was still doing in my masters, I was among the top students, I think. That was a disillusion. And the reason it was a disillusion was that now those cream of the crop students from the masters, they were the students who got PhD positions. So now I was suddenly surrounded by people who were all the cream of the crop, who were all the best of the best. Of course, in this one very specific academic field, right? I have no illusions there. Again, there's just an illustration. Now, what am I trying to say? What I'm trying to say was that was rather a harsh awakening for me, because all of a sudden I realized that, oh, guess I'm not automatically the best at this. And I wasn't. I really wasn't. And I shared an office with a PhD student who was particularly gifted. Very good. Very good at theory, developing theory. Very good at statistics. Very good at coding. Very good at everything. And it made me very nervous. Because I thought, if this is what I have to aspire to be, if this is what I have to become, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I have what it takes. Because he's good at everything. And at all those things, he's better than I am. And then I found out, this was not a secret, that it was more difficult for him to write something. And that, of course, he was Dutch, and that he struggled a bit more with English and writing in English and idiomatic expressions, these kinds of things. And he asked my help with that. So what I'm trying to say is, man's got to know his limitations. There are limitations and everybody has them. And I found out this way that in a very specific academic sense, I had those certain limitations. But I also found out that there were things that I was very good at. And in those things, with those things, like in those fields, I could help others in academia. So I think what Marcus Aurelius says here is a very nice way of looking at things. What he's saying is, be aware of your limitations. And don't be ashamed to ask someone for help if you cannot do a certain thing. If you struggle, reach out to others to help you. You can't be an expert at everything. He was the emperor of Rome. He was the most powerful man in the world at that time. And even he is very clear when you read the Meditations. There are many other sections where he goes into all of his shortcomings. So have that ability to ask for help. It's okay. But in a broader sense, I think, study your limitations. Understand that, for lack of a better expression, you are not God's gift to mankind. You're not. You have many flaws because everybody does. And that's okay. But once you understand what your flaws are, you can work on those things. And that continuous progress, right? That continuous working on yourself, that is a fundamental aspect of Stoicism. But that starts with understanding, and I'm making this a bit dramatic here, but understanding that there is something wrong with you, that there is something you can improve. And a lot of people these days don't see that, because a lot of people are brought up, in my mind, with the idea that they are perfect. But you're not. And this leads to issues later on in life, when you find out that you are not perfect. So, Man's got to know his limitations. And once you figure out what your limitations are, you can work on them and you can make sure they become smaller limitations if possible. But until that time, don't be afraid to have other people help you with things. Do things with you or for you. Show you how to do certain things so that you can learn. And when you learn, you are making progress. And don't forget, progress is enough. You will never be perfect. You will not be the sophos that the Stoics valued, the enlightened sage. You won't be that. But you can strive to be one. You can strive to be the best version of yourself you can be, not once in a while, every day. Stoicism is a harsh philosophy. You can't do it on Monday, but not on Tuesday and Wednesday. You can't do it throughout the week, but not on the weekend. It's rigorous discipline. But through that, you'll worst pain known to man. But I'm a Stoic, so I just continue. You can make progress. This is only an impression. It's not real. Go away. That's how a Stoic deals with things. So, that was probably the best demonstration I've ever given of Stoicism. Anyway, I hope this was useful. Give this some thought. Think about shortcomings, not as something embarrassing, but as something that's an opportunity for you to work on, to make yourself better, and you will be alright. I hope this was useful. I'll gladly see you again. Bye.